Hey Jay, and I'm back with chapter 27 of The Rebels. If you're not Jay and you're joining me, welcome. We are kind of in the later half of the middle of the book. Fair warning, there are some trigger warnings in here. I don't remember the exact nature for it, so just check out down below first in case that's something you need to be cautious of. There, I said with satisfaction, peering down my rifle scope through a window. I've got one too, Jewel reported. We'd only had to wait an hour before we'd finally seen movement, and what I saw wasn't good. A fat man walked through the house, pushing a thin, dirty girl in front of him to the living room. Why does this place look so weird? Jewel whispered. It's subtle, I acknowledged, but it's a hell of a lot dirtier than where you were held. More remote, too. There were officers. Jewel spoke quietly, more to herself. Daily bathing and comfortable beds? Definitely different from this place. I wrinkled my nose, imagining the smell. A flicker at the corner of my eye showed Phoenix waving for us. I nudged Jewel and we took the long way around the back. River and Sirius were waiting for us, and Sirius sported an extra cloth sack tied to her pack. When I asked her about it, she just smiled beatifically. It rustled occasionally. Fence is a 30-minute walk, careful walk away, River said. Let's just say that my punctuation is not always great, and there must have been a lot of it for my editor to have missed this. She had a stick and doodled aimlessly in the dirt as she talked. Patrols are 15 minutes apart, 2 men each. No sign of Dorothy. At the news that we wouldn't have to deal with the Americans of the Corps, I breathed a sigh of relief. Found a spot where erosion has left us a hole again. Fence isn't too tight, so we should make it without leaving much trace. What's the game here? Sirius asked. It's a shithole, Phoenix said bluntly. Dirty windows, dirty girl. I saw one. Dirty man. Sums it up, I nodded. I'm thinking me and Phoenix go in the front, pretending to be customers. Take down the fat man quickly, then we get everyone out the back. No shots if we can help it. If you need to, kill him fast. Sirius and Jewel, you're our backup. River, you're our eyes out here. Everyone who goes in comes out. Got it? Nods all around, and we parted, those of us entering the house, leaving our rifles with River. Circling wide, Phoenix and I came at the house from the south, and as we approached, I tugged my scarf down. I wasn't worried about being ID'd as a woman. Before, wearing casual clothes, I'd frequently been mistaken for a guy. Now, covered in a layer of dirt and 5 layers of clothes, the fat man would have to have X-ray vision to guess otherwise. Phoenix was to keep her scarf up as long as possible. Unlike me, a single glance and a person could see she was female. I hesitated at the door for several long seconds. Knocking got harder the more often I did it. It would only take one person shooting through a damn door to give me an outright phobia about it. The fat man opened the door. Up close, we could see that it wasn't so much dirt as greasiness of personality that made him look dirty. His eyes immediately lit on our armbands, and he swept an expansive bow hindered by his gut. I stepped in, clenching my teeth to keep from gagging at the stench. Phoenix followed right on my heels, tension radiating off of her. We're honored the Corps has decided to visit us this evening, the man boomed with false joviality, eyes flickering over us rapidly, cataloging everything, from our dirty clothes to the quality of our weapons. I'm Danston, the manager of this establishment. 2 of our girls are busy right now. Phoenix's hand clenched. But we have 2 other young lovelies to keep you happy. He waved to the far side of the room. 2 girls, not even in their mid-teens, were draped over a couch. Their glassy eyes and listless forms suggested drugs more than art. Disgust flared into rage at the sight of those children and the bruises not hidden by the flimsy clothes. Like them young, do you? Danston noted my prolonged stare. He started towards them, and I moved abruptly to keep pace with him. I felt awkward, as if my joints had frozen and were barely working, stumping next to the fat man. Danston snatched up the smaller of the two, the girl maybe 11 or 12 years old. A scar from a cleft lip marred her face, nearly hidden as she kept her head tilted down. "Get your hands off of her!" Phoenix snarled, rough and threatening though she was. There was no hiding the female timbre of her voice. The fat man moved quickly, pulling the little girl in front of him, but not fast enough. He'd let me get too close. I sat up from the jumbled pile we created when Danston went down, bracing a hand on his face to yank the knife out of his eye. I spat on him as I got to my feet, lifting the girl with me. This time, there was no remorse, no fear, no worry. This time, it was easy. I set the girl back on the couch while Phoenix went to the hallway to listen and make sure we hadn't been heard. She motioned me over with a quick jerk of her head, finger to her lips. The soldiers hadn't heard anything. It wasn't hard to tell which rooms they occupied. All we had to do was listen for grunts and the squeaking of beds. Phoenix took one room, I took the other, and I held a hand up, counting. When I hit 3, we charged in. The bed stood on the far side of the tiny room, mere steps away. I had an arm around the soldier's throat as I plunged the knife into his back, between the lower ribs and into the lung and heart, just like Seahorse had taught me, as a shot rang out next door. I held him tight while he died, closer than I'd ever held a living person, feeling his heart stop and his life drain away. When I was sure he was dead, I lowered his body, cleaning my knife on the bed sheets. "You okay?" I called. The girl in here was maybe 18, and I only guessed that because of the tattoos that covered her arms. She stared at me dully, unable to function enough to cover herself or cry. "Yep." Phoenix's voice came clearly through the thin walls as I began wrapping the girl on the bed. A low whistle, followed by footsteps, heralded Sirius and Jules' arrival. "What happened to—" never mind." Sirius entered the room and immediately began rifling through the closet. "There's jack shit in here for people to wear, and we've got another cold snap moving in," she complained, emerging from the space with bits of lingerie sticking to the tough fabric of her jacket. "There's only a knife on the fat man," Jules said, appearing in the doorway, "and 2 guns from Steve." She stared in distaste at the man on the bed. "You've been killing a lot tonight." Hauling everything and everyone into the front room, we took stock. We had soldiers' clothing that consisted of pants, shirt, jacket, and overcoat. "Well, we got enough for 2, Sirius commented. "We gotta strip, people." I shrugged my jacket off. "Can't be too much longer before somebody investigates that shot." Clothes went flying as we found enough under and outerwear for all 4 girls, who were beginning to shiver and show signs of life. When I finally started putting clothes back on again, I had to strap the double shoulder harness over a sports bra and thin t-shirt, with just a jacket over it all. We were all in the same position, with most of our clothing going to the 4 kids in front of us. The girl with all the tattoos was the first to move, swatting irritably at Phoenix when she tried to dress the girl. "Can do it myself," she mumbled. Phoenix ignored her and continued putting another pair of pants on her. It all took too long. River came in, tossing the rifles to their owners. "Steve's on the way! 5 minutes out!" Everybody except Sirius grabbed a kid and hustled out the back door, following my cousin as quietly as we could. Phoenix, the shortest of us, ended up hauling the tallest girl, the tattooed one. I traded with her, and we mixed it up until everyone pulled a person they could reasonably manage. As we passed a tree, Sirius leaned over and snagged the pillowcase sack left at the base. "Seriously, what is it?" "Talk later," Sirius panted. "Run now!" Crashing and thumping let us know Steve was searching the house, and we weren't far enough away. "Keep an eye out for patrols," River hissed. "They might be—" "Drop!" No sooner had the word left Sirius's lips than I hit the ground like a sack of potatoes, taking my passenger with me, the others seconds behind. I pushed the girl half under a bush and laid over her, praying there was no exposed skin. Footsteps thundered past, and a boot hit the ground a foot away from my face. We waited more precious minutes until after they left, until the vibrations from their passage became distant. Then we were up again. Phoenix had the littlest kid over her shoulder in a fireman's carry, hauling ass at an impressive pace. Mine whimpered as she stumbled, lurching against me. I didn't pause, just turned and scooped her over my right shoulder, leaving my left hand free to carry the rifle, the complaints from my side lost in the moment. Something I've noticed over the years. Performing a move in the heat of the moment often works. If I'd tried lifting the girl like this in practice, I'd probably fall on my face. And right now, like this, we were superheroes. The problem is, bullets don't bounce off of us. Sirius held a bush out of the way and the fence up as we practically slung the drugged girls under before diving through ourselves. Sirius took a moment to tug the fence back down and brush the bush back over the spot, trying to keep it hidden. We hustled down a deer path, dragging the girls behind. The new surroundings were finally sinking into the girls' brains, and they fought, frightened and disoriented. The tattooed girl pulled back against my hand, trying to escape, and looking back, I saw the others also struggling. Sirius came up from the rear. "Pick up the pace," she whispered. "Steve's moving fast." As she spoke, the distant sounds of noobs in the woods filled the air with cracking branches and thrashing through underbrush. Phoenix scooped the kid over her shoulder again, picking up her pace up to a fast walk. River followed suit, but Jewel continued to have trouble. Her kid was almost as big as she was and fighting. "Move!" Sirius headed back to watch the rear. "She won't go!" Jewel grunted when the girl landed a lucky blow. "No time." I stepped closer, leaned my rifle against my leg for a moment, and popped the girl on the jaw. Not too hard, but in her condition it was enough to knock her out. Jewel gaped at me in horror, barely catching the kid. "Well, what are you waiting for? Go!" Jewel glared but did as ordered. My charge struggled even more, and I finally picked her up again, grunting as I felt the strand on in my shoulders and back. Lanterns brightened the night. A shout rang out as they found our track, and the chase was on. Sirius came up quickly, urging us off the path. River struck out, going north and cutting to the east, while my cousin stayed behind to erase our trail. The girl over my shoulder wriggled, nearly causing me to drop her, and I bounced sharply in warning. Shots were fired behind us, and Sirius came up running. "No good," she panted. "They caught sight of me, so they know." "Lead the way," I said. "We're too busy keeping hold of these ones." No good to start a fight right now. Our best bet was to find a place to hole up until the search died down. Sirius was the best equipped to find a spot, as her countless wins at hide-and-seek had proved over the last few months. Behind us, Steve sounded like a herd of elephants to those of us who hunted, a chaotic blend of thrashing and shouting, making it easier to stay ahead. The night boiled down to putting one foot in front of the other and following the person in front. Jewel had to put her charge down and drag the girl along. While she wrestled with the child, I slid past so they wouldn't hit me and knock us down. My shoulders were killing me, and when I stepped wrong, jostling my passenger, a line of pain streaked to my ears. Pretty sure that wasn't good. Jewel, behind me again, pushed the girl in front of her as the kid leaned back. It finally dawned on me that, to them, this wasn't a rescue, but a kidnapping. Bullets began peppering the trees to our left, slowly fanning across the land. Lucky bastards having ammunition to waste. The reality of that thought brought me up for a moment, until a tree branch over my head cracked with the force of a shot. "Pick it up!" I called to Jewel. "They can't miss us forever!" I had to lower my passenger, agony a constant line from my ear to halfway down my back. Tattooed Girl proved herself a badass because she had enough wits about her now to realize we were trying to help and stop fighting me. Seeing her move forward convinced Jewel's charge to get moving too. Too little, too late. Jewel grunted, sounding like she'd been punched in the gut, and stumbled into a tree. I turned to yell at her, but she stared at me, bewildered, one hand on her stomach. She reached towards me, her hand black in the dark. I started back, unsure what had happened, when Jewel slumped to her knees. It hurts," she gasped. Close enough to see, my blood froze. Shot. She'd been shot in the stomach. I caught her before she hit the ground, slung my rifle over my shoulder, and scooped her up, cradling her like I'd last done for my baby brother Peter. Tattoo Girl reached Phoenix and caught her arm, pointing back to me and Jewel. "She's shot," I ground out. "Keep going." Phoenix herded the three girls, constantly chivying them as Sirius took us straight north before slowly curving to the west. River left her charge with the girls, who were now moving forward, if not quickly, and dropped back to cover my ass. Suddenly, Phoenix appeared beside me and took part of Jewel's weight. She carried Jewel's legs, one under each arm, and I had my arms wrapped around her chest, stumbling in my haste. Ahead, I saw the rescued girls form a train, the first holding onto Sirius, the second onto her, and so on. We picked the pace up to a cautious jog, River covering our tracks as Sirius made sharp right turns to throw Steve off our trail. An interminable time later, Sirius cut sideways once more, taking us through some bushes to the towering roots of a downed tree. She parked the girls in the fern-filled hollow at its base, helping us deposit Jewel, then set to with River and Phoenix, carefully pruning more ferns and fir branches for bedding, and gathering fallen branches to create a shelter that would hopefully fool passing patrols. I worked over Jewel, packing clean t-shirts over the wound high up on the right side of her abdomen, and trying to make her comfortable, carefully laying my sleeping bag under her. Jewel's pulse was thready. I couldn't believe how much blood she'd lost. "How is she?" River asked, ducking into the shelter once they finished outside. "Not good." I gave them a brief rundown of the younger woman's condition as River helped the newly rescued girls get comfortable. The cold snap had fully settled in. No one was dressed for the weather, and those girls were even less prepared. "Told them we needed a doctor," Phoenix observed. "Yes? And how are we supposed to get one?" I snapped. "Steal?" I stopped abruptly, then grinned. "Steal one?" The fighters broke out in nearly identical grins of evil glee. "Who's babysitting?" Phoenix asked. "Me," Sirius sighed. "My night vision's shit." "And me." River looked up from her position by the smallest girl. "They're pretty bad from drugs, and they're coming off their high now." I nodded and didn't bother asking how she knew so much about drugs. "Where are the doctors?" I asked instead. "Still at the hospital. It's got a hell of a lot of security." "Know where the guards are stationed?" River shook her head, helping a girl sip water. "There's gates that are easy to see and avoid according to Kitten, but there's also roaming patrols. Just take your time." "But hurry!" Sirius looked up from Jewel's wound. "I don't know how much time she's got." Weaving through Steve's patrols to come out on the south side took more time than I liked, but we stretched into a run as soon as we felt safe. "How are we getting a doctor?" Phoenix said, running easily at my shoulder. "Are we just going to ask them to help and hope they're not on Steve's payroll?" There was a healthy amount of cynicism in her question. I was thinking we'd grab a doctor and ask him afterwards. I don't think Jewel's got time for in-depth interviews." I leaped a log blocking the path, followed moments later by Phoenix. "We can give the doctor back afterwards." "Catch and release doctors?" Phoenix snorted a laugh. "What? Like you said, we can't trust them, so we use them and let them go." I breathed deeply, the muscle between my shoulder and ear still complaining, and hoped we wouldn't have to drag the doctor too much. "It's been a while since we've seen a patrol," Phoenix said a bit later. We were off the track and taking a road, aiming to get back into the city further south than we'd left it. "We can fire a few shots to take the heat off Sirius and River." I nodded. 2 to 3 each do it, you reckon? Phoenix grinned and walked a few steps away, drawing a handgun. I selected one of mine, and she fired first. We interspersed them, hoping Steve could hear the difference in reports. After the shots, we waited a few moments, then fired off a couple more rounds. "And that's enough rest." I shrugged, loosening tight muscles, heading south again at an easy jog. Phoenix fell in beside me, giggling. "Only thing better would be blowing shit up. Can we do that while we're in town?" "Nah." I ducked to avoid a tree limb, thankful the moon finally came out. If it weren't for this cold snap, we'd have been crawling, unable to see for clouds. The cold air burned my nose and throat, and I hooked my scarf over my nose again. "We don't want them knowing we're back in town. We need this one to be quiet. Our track intersected with the road, and we followed that, leaving it twice to let trucks past. To the north, soldiers continued thrashing through the forests, trying to find the poor suckers that got shot. "Can I shoot people if we get cornered?" Phoenix asked eventually. "We get cornered, you can shoot me! Truck!" We ducked off the road, and I stumbled over a tree root and bit the dirt of a deer track. I lay on the ground a moment, dirt and debris digging in. The smell of rich earth, decomposing matter, and brown surrounded me for one long second before I pushed back to my feet. The track led south and east, so we followed it. The air changed. I inhaled. Moisture, rich and heavy in my throat. Thick forest, then. A sudden dip jarred my side, and the line of pain that never completely left flared again. I ached for the chance to curl up in bed until it healed. The others missed their phones, tablets, and internet. I missed the lazy days. I missed weekends, bookstores, and uninterrupted sleep. I flexed my shoulder as I jogged, hoping it would stop burning, but it continued to vie with my side for attention. All right, that ends chapter 27. So I will see you next week for chapter 28.